Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Twists, a podcast where we like to talk about Around the Twist, an 80s, 90s, and early 2000s television show from Australia aimed primarily at children. But we like to talk about it because we never grew up. My name is Joe Lewis, and I'm joined today by my co-host, as I am every week on this podcast, Anthony Bull. How are you, Anthony?
I'm quite well, Joe. How are you?
I'm very, very well.
Yes?
As you can probably tell by my voice, I've had a little bit too much caffeine today,
I can
boom,
tell.
boom, 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 let's do it.
He really wants to get into this, and I can see Joe just moving in his chair back and forth. He's very fidgety
Right
at the moment. So this episode was
what
to you? Was it probably was a big one, right?
Well, this is the big one.
Yeah, this is the one that everyone remembers.
This is the Mount Everest. This is the Holden Commodore, if you will.
The Holden Commodore.
Round the Twist episodes. Yes, this is the one that everyone wants to know about. They remember from their childhood. I've said in the past, this episode is highly overrated.
Yes.
You see, with Round the Twist, right? Everyone goes, oh yeah, I loved Round the Twist. Remember the episode where the little boy had a whirling penis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember anything else about that episode? No, you probably don't.
No, probably don't. I didn't even know it was caused by a fish when I was younger.
Because you think it's cool to reference a show that had a child that had a whirling penis in it. When was the last time you watched it? How old were you? 10?
10?
Did you actually watch the episode, or did you just look it up on Wikipedia and find out there was a child that had a whirling penis?
I did.
Probably you did.
I think most people did watch it.
Lies and blasphemy.
I think most people watched it and they were like, wow, this guy's flying with his penis. That's pretty amazing.
Spoilers, Anthony.
Woof. Oh, jeez. The spoiler of 20-year-old show.
So, this is, as you may have mentioned from our rambling, we're talking about Round the Twist, episode 3 of season 3.
Yes.
And let's just dive into talking about it.
Right.
So, as we know, when we start off every episode of Around the Twist, we get a teaser to give us a little bit of idea what's going to happen in the episode, both thematically and sometimes plot. But in today's teaser, we got Bronson going to the toilet. It's kind of near the top of the lighthouse, and he goes inside, and we see the twists, the rest of the twists downstairs, which is weird, because we often don't get talking, nor do we get cutting back and forth in the middle of a Around the Twist teaser. Bronson goes in the toilet, and the whole lighthouse starts to spin, and the rest of the Twist family, they're terrified.
Yeah.
It's, what's happening? What's going on, Bronson? What are you doing? Then Bronson comes out of the toilet, basically winks to the camera and says, it's great to unwind.
Now, obviously, as I was watching this, I was like, geez, there are metaphors everywhere in this episode. As we remember, the lighthouse is sometimes a penis, and in this episode, you can't deny the fact that it's a penis.
Obviously.
It is clearly a penis.
This episode, the teaser was referencing Whirling Derfish and the spinning nature of the fish, not the fact that Bronson was doing something with his penis in the bathroom and unwinding in that respect.
Then he says it's good to unwind.
Yeah.
It's a puberty metaphor. Okay.
I understand, the reference that you were trying to make.
Well, it's kind of hard not to when it's right in your face. And remember, I'm 8, so when I'm 8, I just thought it was about his penis being able to fly around. But no, now I realize, no, it's a metaphor for puberty.
Yes. As we talked about last week, the week before, actually.
Yes.
Not the week, the episode before the last Round the Twist episode. So the season 3, episode 1. We were talking about the one where Pete becomes impregnated.
Yes.
And that's heavily about underage pregnancy.
Yeah, and puberty.
And again, Espen Storm must have had something on the mind, who wrote a lot of the episodes of season 3. Because this episode is about puberty, and if we believe you and your theories, this episode is about masturbation.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Oh, it's totally about masturbation. His whole thing is about masturbation. The race is, okay, that's a side part, but his whole thing, is about masturbation.
There are a lot of sexual, would you call them overtones? They're not really undertones, are they? They're quite unsubtle.
Very overt, like, in their nature. Like, I'd call them that. What do you think? Why do they do this?
I don't know.
Do you think maybe it was just because Epson Storm was like, well, these children are over that age? Or they're growing up in that age? I don't know.
Because Round the Twist has always been a bit edgy.
Yeah.
Remember the Cabbage Patch episode where Bronson cries as he's destroying his son?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kills a child.
He's killing his child. Yeah. That episode was pretty edgy. So they must have been trying, for different...
and the finale of season 2 was very, very edgy.
Yeah, the season 2 finale is notoriously edgy, where we find out the one guy...
Killed 20 people.
Yeah, killed 20 people, made his brother commit suicide, and then possibly committed suicide himself.
Pretty dark.
We get into some dark stuff here, and maybe they're just kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. Something we failed to talk about in Season 3, Episode 1 recap, was that episode was nearly banned from Australian television.
Really?
And I didn't even think it was that bad.
Oh, do you know why it was nearly
The
banned?
pregnancy one. Why?
I don't. I'm asking.
No, I don't know.
question.
I think it was just a thematic thing.
Oh, okay.
But I would have thought that this episode would be the top of the firing line when you're talking about censorship or banning.
Well, you could say, I mean, we could say something like referencing like other people who've complained about banning before, and because it's about a dude's willy versus a chick pregnancy, or a dude getting pregnant.
Male pregnancy.
Male pregnancy versus a male's willy getting out of control.
It's interesting.
So it's, interesting.
Because it's all, sexually related stuff. Let's not get too carried away before we actually start talking about the actual episode, but, let's cut the ado. If I can use a phrase that I've used in the past.
You have.
So we start the actual episode, and Bronson's going swimming. He's on the wharf. Oh, is this the correct word? It's a wooden jetty. What have we decided that this is called? A jetty? A pier? What did we settle on?
I do believe that it's wood, right?
Yes.
Yes, well then I believe in my previous episode, I had stated...
Yes, what did you say? Refresh my memory.
I believe a jetty is made of rocks, and a pier is made of wood, so it is therefore a pier.
What's a wharf, then?
A wharf is where I grew up.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a Star Trek joke. But...
I know, I'm referencing, I'm trying to remember what I said last week's episode, and I'm just trying to stay continuity,
Keep that continuity. Bronson's going to enter the wharf to surf race, and it's his ticket to no longer being ignored. This is something that is a continuing thing with Bronson, where be it the season 1 Bronson or the season 3 Bronson, he's always concerned about being ignored and left behind.
Fair enough.
Because he's the smallest one, he's a redhead, he's naturally picked on by everyone else. But
usually, though, the youngest child is the one that's never ignored.
The most spoiled one. It's usually the middle child.
Middle child's the one that's ignored, because the eldest has usually got all the responsibility, and I'm not really sure what else. That's the trope, right? And then the youngest one usually gets all the praise, so the middle one kind of gets forgotten about.
What was the middle Brady girl's name? Jan?
Marsha? It was Jan. No, Marsha was the oldest.
Yes. Jan Brady
Do you know the middle male?
The youngest one was Bobby.
Yeah, and the oldest one was, I don't know.
Dan.
You must Dan.
I don't know.
I'm more confident that I could guess the older one than the middle one.
Who knows? Does it
forgettable
matter?
for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's very forgettable. Very good point there.
Yeah.
Well thought. Well
Well
executed.
saved. Well saved.
But Bronson's very interested in this race, and Pete is there as well, and he's saying, don't worry, mate, you can't expect miracles the first time, you're not going to win. Pete's entered this multiple times before, and he's lost nearly every time to Gribble, and Gribble and his mates show up. They've decided to choose this time to train as well.
Yeah.
For some reason on the wharf, the jetty, the pier.
Mm-hmm.
We need a chart up in our recording room so I can quickly refer to whatever the water construction
I will have to make that
officially
for you.
Called. Yes, and the Gribbles start to tease Bronson and Pete that they're going to beat both of them. And Bronson says, I'm going to wipe the shore with you, and you're going to be a laughing stock. Probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen? No?
No.
What do you think he meant when he said wipe the shore with you?
Wipe the floor.
Wipe the floor, really?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but Bronson,
still a weird thing to say.
As we know, doesn't completely understand how to use words or sentences.
So he says things like, wipe the shore, or... I thought he was going to say, no, wipe the shit. No, that doesn't make any sense, does it? No.
Thanks for just dropping some swearing.
Sorry, but I felt like he was trying to swear there.
No.
He screwed it up.
No, it's wipe the floor. He's changed it to shore.
That makes sense.
And Gribble says big words for a little twist. And
they're not really big. I remember this distinctly when
they're
watching.
mediocre. They're
not even big.
Moderate-sized words.
Floor, shore,
no, but
socks.
when you say big words, you mean like fighting words. That's impressive language from someone who's going to get wiped the shore with themselves.
The way I heard it, I was like, they're not big words at all. Like,
have you never heard that expression before?
I've heard the expression, but I didn't hear it. Like,
maybe it's you who struggle with the English language, not Bronson Twist.
Maybe I do.
Go back to university.
Yeah, I should go back to university.
3 degrees are not enough.
3 degrees ain't enough. Good thing I didn't start. Oh, shit. This is in business communication.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. How to communicate.
Business communications.
There you go. Maybe I need to learn how to spell English properly.
So they decide to race to settle it. They couldn't wait for the big race. They're going to settle this disagreement right here and there. So Pete, Bronson and Gribble, they jump in the water and they start racing, and Gribble gets an early lead on them because he cheats and jumps in before, and he's beating them. He's doing a better job. But conveniently, on the shore, oh look, it's Pete, and he's racing Gribble. And look who's there as well with Linda. It's Faye and Tony.
Well,
and look who else rocks up. It's Gribble's parents. Oh, suddenly we've got an audience. What are these people doing on the shore? Don't they have a home? What are they doing here? It's school time, right?
Is it?
It's
School time?
I imagine it's just finished school because they have school bags with them.
Oh, yeah.
What are the Gribbles just doing here? Doesn't Gribble have a day job? Matron should be in the hospital.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Tony should be making art. Faye's probably still got work to do at school.
Here's what I'm thinking.
What?
Harold runs his own business. Alright, so he can take time off for his kids sometimes.
Yeah, but he's not here for his kids. It was just happened to be on the
No,
beach.
no, this is what I reckon actually happened. Okay? They both rocked up at the beach. Alright? Linda,
Yes.
Alright? So Tony's then out with Faye, basically like, oh, you know what? The boys want to go and train after school or something. Or alternatively, they were there to pick them up after school.
Okay.
Okay? Linda's like, I'll come with you because, I don't know, Linda's got nothing else to do today.
But they just seem to be lounging.
Yeah,
Faye and
because
Tony
they're
are just
waiting-
lounging.
I don't know, they're enjoying the beach, even though the weather was terrible, I guess.
I don't.
They
Yeah,
didn't maybe they just need an audience.
that
Maybe
is
they need an
something
audience.
about this scene. The weather looked atrocious. Where the few times that you see the clouds, it looked like it had been raining all day.
Well, I'm just going to say that they just needed an audience.
Yes.
Just as simple as that.
It's like, oh, they happen to be there. They all start cheering for their loved ones or family attachments, and Mr. Gribble starts shouting out, remember, it's not about winning or losing, it's about winning. Good wordplay there, Mr. Gribble.
Which is better,
Well
Joe?
appreciated.
Which is better?
What?
Which is better? To try and fail or to succeed at any cost?
Try and fail?
Well, I mean, it's not a question of you're right or wrong. I'm just asking about...
I don't know, why are you dropping heavy
Well, I'm like,
heavy level?
your intent is, like, from this I was reading into, like, you know, your intent is the determiner of your morality, or is it the outcome of your options? Or your decision?
What are you trying to say here?
Is
Break
it
down.
better to be a winner,
Yes.
that being the outcome,
Okay.
is that more important than actually trying? Like, if you try
Well,
and
what do you
fail...
think?
Well, personally, I think if you try and fail, it's better than if you don't try and you succeed. But
Yeah.
that's just from a moral point of view. From every other point of view, like, if you succeed, that's what matters in the end, because that's the one that will net you the success, will net you the money, net you the influence and all that stuff that can help you later on.
No, I think you're right, because if you succeed at something that you never tried at, I never feel like that's a good victory. Which is why, if we could tangent a little bit for a short period of time, I think it's kind of horrible that all of this stuff, you know, this equal opportunity and, you know, affirmative action stuff.
Yeah.
If that was directed at me, I would not be satisfied with that, right?
Okay.
Because if I was given a job because of a quota, I would feel horrible about that because I would rather achieve it for myself.
Everyone would think that even if you were successful or you were good at your job,
Exactly.
I know people who were good at their jobs, and if their quota were to come in, they would just think, you know what?
Yeah.
You there, you got your job because, you know, you're a woman.
You know,
that's bullshit because there's really good women out there who don't deserve that crap.
If I can use an example, you and I have a close friend who
that's
is
what
a
I'm talking
woman
about. Yeah.
who is very good at her job.
Very good, very clever
And
too.
she works very hard.
Yeah.
We went to school and uni with her.
Yeah.
And she's quite good, and she used to get good grades, and she works quite hard. And she said on multiple occasions, like, quotas are awful, because why would she want to be looked at as somebody who's just given her job or given her achievement because, she's a woman, when actually she's probably the best person in the workplace.
Probably.
Like, why is that necessary to, you know, achieve these quotas? Because it's bad for the people that are actually doing a good job, regardless of their gender.
I think
if a man or a woman is doing good at their job, they should be rewarded.
Shouldn't it be like, if you want to erase this type of thing, shouldn't it be more of a gender wipe sort of thing?
What do you mean?
Like in the hiring process, you try to minimize the effect that bias occurs for gender. So like in your resumes, you take gender off the resume. Like you take it out, you get an admin assistant to take it out and you code it. I'd even do it for names and all that stuff. In the interview process, if you can, get a male and female interviewer so that, you know, the bias just can cancel each other out.
You can do it in the selection of resumes, but there is no way to remove bias in it.
You want to minimize the bias though. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, but I know that
because there's bias. There'll always be bias both ways.
Yeah.
Because I've heard horror stories about workplaces where people have been made redundant because, not because they were bad at their job, but this is when the companies are cutting money, but because it would look bad to cut a woman who is less effective than the man. It would look bad to fire her in a redundancy than it would be to get rid of the man, even if the man was better at his job.
Yeah.
You know, why, if we're looking at equal opportunity, which I think we should be, that means for everyone.
Yeah.
Regardless, we shouldn't be looking at skin color or gender. It should be whoever's doing the best job.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's best for not only that place of employment, but ultimately the economy at large.
And if you want to go even
efficiency.
further, did you hear about, it was like, Bill Shorten was like, we want to get, like, was it like 2025 or something? We want half of the liberal, like, Labour MPs to be women. And I was like, But why? Who decides that? Don't the people
Yes.
decide that?
Yeah, exactly.
So why should you have any influence on that other than picking a candidate?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to pick your candidates, but ultimately it comes down to the people in that electorate
Yeah, so I don't
who they want to
understand
vote
that.
for. Why should it be mandated to the people what the gender of their MPs are when they're supposed to be voting for the policies that MP is selecting, not their gender? That just seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've rambled about that enough. Matron says, humiliate them, darling, which is great. You've mentioned to me that you like this season's Matron.
Yeah, I do.
She's got a bit of sass, which is nice.
She's got a bit of sass, and she has a greater character.
Yeah, I think Matron has been good in the past, but mainly she's been, a bit one line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, blah, 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 look at me. I'm so good. I have 11 diplomas. Whereas now it's, she's got a bit of bite with her as well, like the father gribble.
Yeah, I like this
good.
matron. I find her very interesting. I like seeing more of her. She's got that funny, somewhat upper class sort of sass to her, which is really great. It's a nice mixture in the whole environment. So it creates a nice amount of drama and conflict. Makes you go, oh, you matron.
One of my favorite female characters of all time is Dee from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes.
One of the backstories, the backstory to the generation of that character was kind of she applied for the role. They were looking for a woman to round out the cast. They already had the 3 male leads.
Because they own the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was before Danny DeVito was involved.
Yeah.
Because he only came in season 2. But they were looking for a woman and they'd written this role that was kind of a straight person. And she said, well, you guys are funny and you guys are depraved. Why can't my character be funny and depraved as well? And they were like, oh, well, we need, a straight character. A straight man, if you will. And she goes, well, do you? And they said, well, I guess we don't. And so they made Dee just as depraved as the rest of them, and it works for that show. Having every single character be depraved.
That's the best. That's the best part of the show.
That's the part of the show.
That they're all terrible people.
Yeah. Which brings us to the point, like, it's great to have female characters that are horrible people.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I really enjoy them.
It's funny to watch them.
You
like seeing horrible women?
No.
As horrible people. I'm sorry, I just worked in my head there. Okay.
No, I like seeing all types of characters.
So you like seeing horrible people?
I like seeing horrible people, yeah.
Interesting.
I think horrible characters are more interesting than straight up nice characters, right?
I think so.
That's why Linda's so boring.
This is true.
But if we were to believe listener Stephen Wadpole,
yes,
Linda's not so nice.
He's not boring.
Who comments on nearly everything we post on Facebook with his theory that he believes that Linda is going to become a BDSM dominatrix.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing that fulfilled.
If you can prove that to me with evidence,
Stephen, if you watch this episode, did you see the way that she held that spatula? Clearly, dominatrix.
The race is coming to a close, and it's super close. And it looks like a tie. But Gribbles won, and only just.
Yes.
By a fraction of a second. And his parents are very disappointed in him, because he should have won by a bigger margin.
Yeah, Pete almost had him.
Bronson shows up. He finally finishes the race, and he's ignored by pretty much everyone. Look how good Pete did. And his dad even says, oh, hello, Bronson. Were you racing too?
What an asshole.
This boy's 7 years old.
Yeah.
How do you crush his confidence harder than that?
How stoned is Tony?
Tony is definitely on weed in this season.
Yeah, because he's like, were you doing it too? Oh man, that's cool.
He's just not even there.
Faye is there to be a parent.
Yeah, Faye stepped up a little bit.
Yeah, to be a parent.
Engaged actively in Tony's children's lives, whereas Tony, would rather sit on the couch, smoke bongs, and watch Rasta Mouse. Bronson,
what?
Bronson's walking home, and it's the second worst day of his life, and his day gets even worse.
What's the first worst day of his life?
Well, I don't know. Probably the one where he nearly killed a child.
Probably.
But the Gribbles capture him because they think he's Pete.
I think so.
It's not really well explained, but they capture Bronson, they kind of throw something over him, and they bring him inside an aquarium.
And then they get really
was never there before.
Because when they take it off, they go, because they say something like, you think you can make a fool out of me?
Yep.
And then they take the bag off, and then they look at him really disappointed. So it's like, we think it was supposed to be Pete, but how you could make that confusion is only says either you have poor eyesight,
yes,
or you're an idiot, or you're both.
Bronson does not look anything like Pete.
Nothing.
In
not
any
even
way,
in
shape, or form.
Not
size, not hair colour, not anything. And they say, what are we going to do with him? He's a bit small. Let's chuck him back, which is convenient because they're in an aquarium. And they throw him in a fish tank. Then they run away. Something I really liked here, a bit of physical humour. The new rabbit, who's the dumb one, is very excited that they've put him in the fish tank and is tapping on the glass going, and his mates run away and he keeps going, turns around, realises his mates are gone, turns back, goes, and then runs away.
That was good.
It was
Great
very
scene.
funny. I'll say again, I've said it before, but this might be my favourite rabbit.
Yeah,
This tiger's probably not my favourite tiger. I think the original tiger was the best,
I reckon so too.
but definitely best rabbit.
Definitely the best rabbit. Love me some rabbits.
This lady runs over, who I assume works at the aquarium, and she runs over and she goes, "Are you okay?" And Bronson says, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm okay." She goes, "Gyro, Spyro, my whirling derfish, are they okay?" She cares more about her whirling derfish than she does about a boy
who's just been drowned.
Yes.
Yeah.
It turns out that Gyro is okay. I think this one was the female, and the Spyro has been eaten by Bronson, which I believe was the male.
Yeah.
And they're the last pair of whirling derfish in captivity, and we found out later, possibly even the world.
Yeah.
And it's swirling around in Bronson's stomach, and he kind of looks down and is a bit ashamed about something, or a bit confused.
He looks down, right? He swallowed this male fish, and all of a sudden, his willy starts spinning after he sees a girl, you know?
So
it's a good example of puberty.
You're theorizing that this is Bronson's first erection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it totally is. And the thing is, like, the woman isn't, like, super attractive. She's just an average-looking woman. So it's like, it's even...
She's not average looking. She's nice looking lady.
She's nice looking lady, but she's not like sexy bombshell. Wow. She
doesn't have fans blowing her hair in the air.
Yeah, she doesn't
she's
look
not
like
Baywatch, babe.
She's not a pin-up model, right? Or something like that.
She's definitely not the angel of the centerfold here.
Yeah. So Angel is my centerfold. So it kind of lends better credence to that because it's like that's what happens in puberty, right? It's like fucking you just get them when you were younger. Like it was like boom, and it happened.
What are they called? NRBs.
NRBs, no reason bonus.
Yeah, they just
Every
happen.
man out there knows what I'm talking about.
Especially when you're about 14 and at school, you gotta
all of a sudden it's like
tuck it into the belt.
Because you got to do a presentation, and it's like nah. Can somebody else do the presentation? I can't do that right now.
You don't want to stand up.
No, you don't want to stand up. I got stuff to do.
This is a bit overshare.
Okay.
This one time I was on the train.
Okay.
And I was going to uni. I was not 14. Probably would have been about 19 or 20 years old, maybe slightly older. And I'd been asleep. And sometimes when I sleep, things enlarge but don't get, proper. And I was sitting on the train and I was half asleep, and then the station, Roma Street Station. And I was like, gotta get up, get to uni. Stood up, grabbed
wait, you gotta get to uni.
Yeah, I was on my way to uni.
You should explain that a little bit more. I
already said I wasn't 14. I said I was about 20.
Oh, I did not hear that. I did not hear that. I only heard that you were 14. I'm like, what are you doing at Roma Street? I stood up
and I was holding the bar and I was just standing there kind of staring out, waking up, and I look over and this woman, mid-20s, maybe late 20s, early 30s, was looking at my crotchal region and smiling, giggling to herself, basically. And I was just kind of staring at her, like, what's going on?
What's your problem, man?
I just wake up. I'm not somebody who gets regularly checked out by women as I walk down the street.
Yeah.
I'm no Fabio. And I look down, and it's quite visible. It wasn't standing up, but there was definitely a long shape. There was a long shape on the resting on the side of my leg, and it was quite visible in my pants.
Did she go to you something like, "Oh, did you have a good dream"?
No, she didn't. She was kind of about 2 meters away from me, so it wasn't that distance that's acceptable to be talking. I just kind of was like, I looked down and kind of was embarrassed.
Should have winked at her.
But, I'd just woken up.
And then threw a number at her. Just throw your number at her and be like...
But yeah, she was, I think she was impressed. Which was the first time in my life where I was like,
maybe I think it's more the fact that
it's pretty good.
She was funny.
Just laughing at me.
She was laughing because you woke up...
Don't shatter my dreams.
Yeah, you had a semi, you didn't realize it, and then you just like, she's like... That guy's got a semi, doesn't even realize it.
But yes, thank you for shattering my dreams.
Yes.
Back in the lighthouse, Faye's saying that she's enjoying her alone time with Tony. Now, we all know what this is code for.
Well, it's not even just that. It's like she's totally like hitting on him.
Yes.
Really hard. Really, really hard. So it's like, could we do alone? What should we do alone? It's like, well, I wonder what you should do.
And she says, between your art and looking after the kids and me being a firefighter...
Wait, did she say...
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I didn't pick that
up. I listened to it about 3 times. I'm fairly sure she says that she's a volunteer firefighter.
Really?
So there you go.
What does she do? Don't you have to be like crazy strong to be a firefighter?
No, you can do volunteer firefighting. You can just be anybody. I helped out the volunteer fire brigade with the rural fire brigade at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did backburning and stuff. It was pretty fun.
That's cool. That's fun.
Yeah. And she says, it's great to make the most of our alone time. And it's clear that she's leading up to something sexual here. Again, this is a children's television program.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just being natural.
Bronson runs in and he goes, Dad, it's a private matter.
It's a private matter.
And Faye leaves.
Bronson is a cock blocker. That's what I wrote down.
Which is interesting because he's here to talk about his private parts.
Yeah.
In private.
Of course.
And Bronson says, I've started getting funny feelings down there. And Tony says, around your age, you start feeling some special changes.
Yeah.
Then Bronson's eyes widen a little bit and he goes, it's stopped. It must have been temporary. Don't worry, Dad. I'm fine. Let's go. And leaves.
Again, boner. Right?
Well.
It's a boner.
In the storyline, it would have been that it was swirling around.
Yeah, of course.
But the implications of that is, it's an allegory for having an erection. Which can be confusing.
I wrote down in my notes says, his boner is gone, and I refer to it in my notes as thus because the metaphor is so painfully obvious that failing to write it is intellectually dishonest.
Pete and Linda, they want in the bathroom. This is a little bit later, and we see a shot of Bronson in the bathroom. He's standing naked. He's just standing there holding a bath toy. We obviously don't see his entire body. We just see his upper torso because that would not be allowed on children's television.
Yeah.
Or any kind of television.
Not at all. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff
he's a young child.
For, right?
Yeah. Why they even had him with any clothes off at all kind of
a little weird.
Is a little weird. Exactly. And Tony comes down the stairs and he sees them banging on the door and he says, Bronson's in there. Give Bronson some time. It's a very delicate time in his life. Come on, Tony. What's going on here? Yeah, he's not having his period. He's just,
Tony's
look, don't be so sensitive.
He's
get over it.
Look, he's a very liberal kind of guy. He wants him to be, he doesn't want him to grow up with any weird sort of sexuality or something like that. So, he wants him to explore his sexuality naturally or something.
Well, according to Stephen Wadpole.
Yeah, well, this is for Linda.
He'd probably be happy. He'd probably not care.
Probably. I don't know. But I wrote down that Bronson is hugging the room because, well, for all the reasons I've been saying with this entire podcast.
You think he's enjoying some self-erotica?
Yes, this is pretty much
autoerotica, I believe it's called.
Yeah, sure. He's enjoying autoerotic asphyxiation.
No. Do you really think a 7-year-old is in the bathroom choking himself? Tony goes down the stairs, and Pete and Linda keep banging on the door. Bronson opens the door, and he says to Pete, "Can you keep a secret?" Pete says, "Of course he can." Enters the bathroom. Bronson's naked. Well, you think that Linda checks out Bronson here?
I'm pretty sure she does. She looks down, right?
Into his penile area.
Into his crotch region, and then looks back up, and I'm like, that's your brother. It's all weird, but you know what? It's weirder that Bronson just answered the door with no clothes on at all.
My little brother just walks around the house with no clothes on regularly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird too. That's weird.
He's like 14.
That's weird.
He just wanders around.
Well, there's only men there except for your mum.
Yeah, but it's still weird. It's
like,
we go,
put some clothes
when I'm there, we go, put some clothes on, Jack. What are you doing? And he'll just sit on the toilet with the door completely open and stuff. He just doesn't care.
Fair enough. Noticed.
Yeah. I know. He does not care for the clothes for some reason.
Who knows?
Anyway, Bronson lets Peter in, but not Linda. Because, let's talk about penises now.
Yeah.
And it's a bit weird if you come in here.
And then she goes...
She claims discrimination.
That's discrimination. I'm reporting you to... Well, I'm not happy at all. Because she couldn't think of a place to report you to?
Because if you reported the fact that your brother wouldn't talk about his penis with you, you'd probably go to jail.
Yeah, probably. Well, this is back before where they had, like, Twitter or Tumblr, though. So,
yes.
You could go there and complain.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Bronson is in the bathtub and he shows Peter that he can propeller the water around with his penis in the bathtub.
Yep.
He's making a little tornado and he's going to use it to win the race. A little bit weird. Pete is, weirdly casual about it.
Yeah, he's like, this is
the fish that you swallowed, Bronson.
Yeah, it's totally
that's great. Fish. Next day, Linda's cooking some sardines and she offers Bronson some fish. Mm-hmm. And it makes Bronson feel sick because, he has a fish in his belly already.
Yeah.
Linda wants to know his secret, and Pete comes down and accidentally ruins the secret by saying, "Oh, Bronson, how's your whirling willy?"
Well, there you go. That's nice. And then Linda says, "You've got a whirling what?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Every week we get some listener feedback from some of our listeners, and we've named this segment Pontillo's Pontifications, named after the man who started the phenomenon, who first wrote in and gave us some feedback, Regan Pontillo. And so Regan usually writes in with a bunch of notes for each episode, and one note that he's written here says...
So one of the ones is that he said to us was that it's a repetition of the phrase willy. So we're talking about how, like, Linda says, he's got a whirly what? Now, Regan points out that, he's wondering maybe if there's a limit to how many times you can say willy in a children's show. What do you think?
Well, there's definitely evidence for words being limited in TV shows and movies in the past.
So
I know in the movie Accepted, which is one of my favourites,
of course,
where they build a fake college because they can't get into college, the word shit is used quite a lot.
Because it's the name of the place.
It's the Southampton Institute of Technology, so it's SHIT, so they say it a lot. And right at the end, they have to bleep out the F word, so that they could fit into a certain ratings bracket. Yeah. Because they've used SHIT too many times, saying the word F would push it over.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if the Australian Television Ratings Board, they have a similar thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, you can say the word willy, that's fine, just don't go saying it in every sentence.
What if it's also because a woman's saying willy? What if it's less weird that a man says it because it's like, oh, the boys have willies, so that makes sense, but if a girl says it, it moves from the natural thing to the sexual tense.
Yes, maybe.
So potentially that might be the reason as well?
Possibly, but I believe she does say whirling willy at some point.
Yeah?
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know, but I have to rewatch it.
A little bit later, Mr. Gribble's holding a press conference for the swimming competition, and the press are being distracted with Bronson motorboating through the water with his whirly willy. He's going really fast. The press get really excited, and they start calling him names like the porpoise? How do you say that word? Porpoise? Porpoise. I think, yeah. Porpoise of Port Noranda. The Port Noranda porpoise. What a tongue twister. Gee, Willy.
Jeez, Willigan. Yeah, you said that. I see what you did there.
Back at the lighthouse, Linda is telling Nell, you cannot keep a secret. This is why you can't be trusted, Linda.
Yeah.
You're worse than Pete. She's telling Nell about the whirling willy, and Nell's like, oh, what's this? And then the fish lady rocks up, and she's looking for Bronson, and because she can't find her fish. And they tell the fish lady that Bronson swallowed the Whirling Derfish, and that he has a whirling willy now. And she says, well, we need to get it back, because there's only 2 of them. Possibly in the world, because they're really rare, and Nell knows all about this. Apparently,
somehow she knows all about this.
Because Nell.
It's Nell, yeah.
Apparently, they were used to make...
Is this the first time we've seen Nell?
No, we saw her in the first episode. We didn't see her in the second.
Yeah.
But we're told that they were used to make early washing machines, because of their spinning capabilities, which is why they're nearly extinct.
Yeah, that makes, a lot of sense.
The other fish that the fish lady has is depressed.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have his mate. And Linda decides to get the fish back from Bronson. And Bronson's walking down the street, and he gets mobbed by the press. And he says to them, this is the best line of the episode. He says, like I always say, swimming is 99% constipation.
Yep.
Which, is this the right word he's looking for? In this case, maybe, because he doesn't want to pull out the fish.
The follow-up line is actually better. I knew I had it in me. I just focused on bringing it out. That makes the whole thing even better.
Are you talking about that in a...
poop joke?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
What, you thought I was talking about an erection or something?
Yeah.
No.
Well, because that's what you keep banging on about.
Well, I do, but I mean, when you say swimming is 99% constipation, I'm pretty sure I knew I had it in me.
Yes.
I just focused on bringing it out. Is sitting on the toilet really hard.
Yeah.
Trying to poop. Especially if you're 99% constipated.
Linda wants to talk, but Bronson's too busy being famous. Simultaneously, Tony and Faye are getting some alone time.
Yeah.
Are they possibly about to have special adult time?
Nope.
Well,
Tony is completely clueless.
Tony wants to sculpt. He wants to build his sculptures.
Hot tip, Faye, just grab his dick.
What?
That's what I was thinking while watching this painful scene. I was just like, just grab his dick. He's clearly... Look, I'm sorry, but Tony is completely clueless, has no idea what Faye wants. He's completely out of it.
Yeah.
He'd probably be up for it, but he's completely clueless, Faye. You just need to take the action because your husband is just an idiot.
He wants to do some sculpting, and she says, is there something you'd rather do instead? And he says, oh, we should talk about Bronson. He's got some special things happening in his special area. And Faye changes the topic and says, okay, look what I found in Linda's room. I found a Viking book of love. Let's read it, because that's not weird or creepy at all. Me being a stepmum and stealing a book about love poems.
Yeah, that really,
Viking love
really
poems from my stepdaughter's room.
That really pissed me off. Like, how long have you been married? Like a year?
I went rifling through his room. Her room.
But that being said,
anyone's room.
I don't know. Maybe that's what they do, right? maybe that because she obviously is the one looking after the kids. She does the washing and stuff. She obviously probably went to go and pick it up. But I still think it's weird that she goes and, you know what, I'm going to read this book that I found because I have a right now to invade her privacy.
I think that's weird on any level if you take anything from a teenage girl's room.
Yeah.
You know, anybody's room.
Anybody's room. It's like,
especially, when you're younger, all you have is your room. When people go in your room and mess up your stuff, it's almost a direct insult on you personally because that's all you have.
Yeah.
And you don't have loads of stuff. You've got this one tiny space and everything about that is extremely precious to you. Like they say in Big Brother or Survivor or shows like that, where your items are extremely limited when you only have, your set of clothes or you have one personal item or whatever. If somebody touches something that is owned by you personally, people lose it.
Yeah.
Because that's all they have.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that ties them to the
That's
real
their
world.
only possession.
And touching that is almost, touching somebody's soul. It's a big deal.
It is.
So it's kind of, quite rude that she would take that. Anyway, she reads one of these poems to Tony and he becomes super keen and wants to kiss Faye immediately. So we know what's about to happen now.
That's 2 used so far, so there's only 10 left now.
Are you doing a poem count?
It's hard.
Viking poem count?
It is tough. It is hard because it's hard to remember, what the count's up to, but I'm guarantee you, based on how many episodes are in the season, they're gonna have to use...
They will all be used.
Well, they have to use more, or they'll have to say, we've already used 5... we can't use
one episode
anymore.
where they use a bunch.
They'll use a whole ton of them. Maybe there'll be a Midsummer Night's Dream parody.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I should really explain that to the audience who don't know what I mean.
Okay, quickly explain.
So they're basically going to be a case where they're going to try to perform a love poem on two people, and it's going to screw up. And they're going to end up loving two people who were wrong for each other. So then they're going to have to try to get the other two together to fall in love. And then they're going to have to get those other two people who are remaining to fall in love normally.
Yes.
Which is the plot to Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yes.
Yep.
It's in the morning and Tony's taking a bunch of calls about sponsorships for Bronson, the porpoise of Port Noranda, and Bronson's acting like a rock star. And Bronson has no time. He's wearing sunglasses. He rushes out the door because he's got to go to a meet and greet for fans. And Linda comes to visit him here, and she says, I need the fish. We need the Whirling Derfish because it's going to die. If you don't give it back, the other one is really depressed. There's only 2 left in the world, blah, 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 blah. Bronson wants to stay famous, so he wants to keep his fish, obviously. Yeah. And he gets his security guard to take Linda away. He's a fast mover.
Yep.
Sponsorships, security guards, what's next?
When he removed Linda, it made me laugh a lot, actually. I really enjoyed seeing that because, to be honest, this is the first person to actually do security officer to do their job.
In around the twist.
Yeah, in Port Noranda. The cops? No, they're not there. They're you know how bodyguards or security guards, the joke is that they failed police training?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, I don't understand how this guy isn't a cop. This guy clearly does a good job, whereas the cop in that town, no, not at all.
Clearly in Port Noranda, the requirement for being a policeman is being bad at your job.
Well, maybe it's nepotism in the police system.
Well, possibly. Joe Peterson era.
Well, this is in Victoria, though. So, maybe...
I've got a Queensland brain, Anthony. I've got a Queensland brain.
Maybe it's the same thing in Victoria. Maybe the same thing happened in Victoria. I don't know.
Faye's concerned about Bronson and the fame going to his head as she's doing the laundry back in the lighthouse. And Tony says, don't worry, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. But Faye holds up a pair of Bronson's underwear, and there is a big hole in the crotch area of his undies.
Dick is huge now. It's also, his success is a metaphor for his growing fertility and the courage you get when you're a popular ego of a young man.
Quite strongly related to phallic symbology.
So I can't not see it.
Testosterone.
He's becoming a teenager.
Too big for his underpants.
Too big? Yeah, literally. It's true. Too big for your britches, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the kitchen, a little bit later, Bronson's cracking some Rocky-style eggs into a glass. He's doing his training routine. And Tony goes to confront Bronson about his famousness. It's going a bit to your head, blah, blah, blah. He's talking to Faye. As soon as he mentions Faye, he gets carried away by the love spell that was put on him by the Viking Book of Love that Faye read out to him and is distracted from telling off Bronson about being too big for his britches.
Here's the thing. In previous episodes, he's done this already, remember?
Yes, he doesn't need a Viking love spell.
He did not pay attention. He just needs to not talk about Faye when he's talking about important things. Because last time he did that, he was at a Greens meeting or something. No, he was a Greens representative for the Yuckles,
that's right.
Right? And he was like, oh, you look after the Yuckles because they're beautiful. And he's looking at Faye and he's saying how beautiful Faye is. Completely ends up causing the Yuckles to be destroyed. If it wasn't for them finding Yuckles,
Yes.
the casino would be built.
Bronson picks up his mobile phone in the middle of talking to his dad and starts taking some more sponsorships. And his dad goes, when did you get a mobile phone? He's like, I don't have time for this, Dad. I gotta go.
Good question.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, if your child has a mobile phone just out of nowhere, it's not a bad idea to ask where they got it from because some of them could be drug dealers.
Again,
You know?
more evidence of Tony being a horrible parent.
Like, I'd like to know where it's like, excuse me,
Do you have any control over your children,
also,
Tony?
you just, like, pick up the phone and pretend like I'm not here. I don't think so, not in my house. Fucking, where's my belt? Whip that off him, take his phone away.
Bronson is known as the Port Noranda Porpoise, as I noted before, and he's getting a lot of autographs taken from him from fans, and he's on his way. Apparently he was off to training, as he told his dad when he left with his mobile phone, but now he's going directly to the race.
Yeah.
And the fish lady and Linda catch Bronson with a fishnet and try to steal the fish back. What?
You missed the most important thing.
What most important thing?
Bronson, when he talks to the sponsor,
Yes.
he goes, Primo, check you later. That's the most important thing.
I'm
He goes,
sure-
Primo, check you. That's the new catchphrase of the younger generation these days.
Alright.
And you missed that.
Thanks.
It's like,
Thanks for that.
well, the kids out there are like,
Extremely valuable input.
it is valuable. It's important. The kids know that, you know.
It was completely relevant and not off topic at all.
It wasn't off topic, you know. All the kids these days, that's all they ever say is, Primo, check ya, fool.
They've captured Bronson in the aquarium and they're trying to coerce the fish that is inside Bronson's area to come out. Now, where exactly is the fish? Is the fish in his stomach or is the fish in his penis? Has the fish gone down into his penis?
Gotta be his stomach, right?
Well, that's what I thought initially, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to come back up. But how is the fish being able to propel his penis like a propeller?
I don't understand. I don't know. Well, let me think. It's somehow utilizing erectile tissue,
Yes.
so that's causing it to go up and down, but like in a rotational pattern.
Because the way that the fish swims is kind of swirl around like a tornado. So I guess it could be twirling around in his stomach and creating fluids that force it around.
I don't know. Maybe it's the same reason. Like, hey, have you ever been like hitting the nuts or the testicles,
Yes.
and it hurts in your stomach?
Yes.
I don't know what the connection there
Well,
is.
that's because
but
you have I don't know, this is probably completely wrong, but doesn't your testicles go in quite a far way?
I don't know
like
if they go in. I think there's just nerves and shit.
Is
I
it?
don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I thought it went up to your belly, like, area.
If you're a doctor, please tell us these things. We are really confused. Like, tell us how this logistically would work, because I have no clue how something in your stomach could cause your willy to spin around.
So yeah, if you're an anatomologist, please ring in and tell us.
Yes, please bring in specifically.
Yeah, only a anatomologist.
Yes, anatomologist.
If you're a doctor, that's not quite the level of profession that we're looking for.
Yeah, we need someone more professional than a doctor. We need an anatomologist. Please send a doctor.
We need help.
Yes.
They're trying to coerce this fish out of him.
Yeah.
And Bronson manages to keep it in. And he runs away, off to the race. It's time to race. It's race time, and Pete's in the changing rooms, and he overhears the Gribbles with an evil plan to stop Bronson. But we don't actually hear what this plan is just yet. And Pete busts in and tells them that he heard their plan.
Yeah.
Good idea, Pete.
Yeah.
Great idea. So, what do?
They wrap him up in red tape.
Yes, they wrap him up in
Literally
tape,
red
which is
tape.
red tape, and they say, "Oh, you're too wound up in red tape to make the race."
No. What they say exactly is this, and this is why I was saying, and while we're watching this is a laissez-faire capitalist joke. Too wrapped up in red tape to compete.
Ah, okay.
That's the joke. And
So the joke is that bureaucracy is slowing down the racing community in general.
no, it's that bureaucracy slows down business communities
Progress.
and prevents them from being able to compete. That's the joke.
Bureaucracy is the force of evil.
Yeah. Or something. Well, it's just a joke about bureaucracy. It's not
Yes.
necessarily that it's good or bad. But
It's evil.
Like, well, okay,
That's
whatever.
clearly evil.
Well, nobody likes bureaucracy, but some people like it. I don't know. Or it's useful to some people.
Except when it's not.
Except when it's not. Yes.
They all-
when you're at Centrelink and you have to wait 3 hours for them to bloody, they've seen a lot of videos and people
Yes.
are like, yeah, you know what? Why don't people who are at Centrelink, work at Centrelink? We need jobs. They need people to work. I felt the same thing when I had to go to Centrelink. But, this is I could talk about how crap Centrelink is for hours. I think everyone would just be like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they should just abolish the welfare state. No.
Of course that's what your opinion is.
What?
Well, I don't know. I feel like they could outsource a lot of things to private enterprises because they'd probably do it a lot more effectively. But whatever.
Yes.
We know what your opinion is on the welfare state, Joe. You don't have to remind me.
And Rand, greatest ever.
Yeah, I'm Rand number one.
Libertarian, I'm getting like one of those foam fingers.
Yeah.
Libertarianism, yay! Ron Swanson is my hero.
Ron Swanson. Rand Paul for the win.
The Gribbles, they leave for the race and they lock the change room. And the race is starting. But Pete's locked in the room. He can't get out. He spits out his gag. He's got to try and escape. The race is about to kick off, and the rabbit and the tiger are about to do something evil.
Yeah.
Linda shows up with the fish, and it's dying without Spyro, but Bronson doesn't care. He's got a race to win. Pete's desperate to get out. He's got to save his brother from whatever evil plan the Gribbles are about to inflict upon him. And Rabbit and Tiger show us what the plan is by putting super glue on Bronson's starting block, but then they high-five. The problem being that they high-five, their hands going around the pier, so it kind of locks them in.
Yep. Which is kind of dumb.
Yes.
Very dumb. And I love that because they just said that after how that was a clever idea.
Fast-drying super glue.
And they said,
it's a great
This
idea.
is a smart idea. Yeah, and they high-five each other. I'm like, well, it was a smart idea until you did that, eh?
Yes. Bronson's about to step on the glue, and Pete simultaneously busts free onto a trolley, rolls outside, bounces onto a trampoline, and then falls into the water. In one of the most bizarre Rudy Goldberg-esque machine machination sequences that I've ever seen, and he falls into the water and starts to drown because he's still covered in red tape.
Yes.
No one decides to help him.
Just like
there's a boy drowning in the water.
Just like business.
Just like
if you keep the business joke going, it's like, oh, they're drowning in red tape, they can't compete.
And no one decides to help him, but they start the race. Bronson sees Pete fall into the water.
That bothered me so much. That
there's a boy drowning.
Harold goes like this. He goes, go. Not, go save that person. He doesn't know it's a boy, but go save that person who fell into the river.
They all watch and they all go, oh no, will somebody do something about it? Somebody do something about it!
You've heard that, right?
What?
That, it's like that, I don't know if it's a theory, but it's, there was this, happened in New York. Someone was stabbed, and killed, 37 people saw the event.
Really?
Yeah, but nobody called the cops.
Oh.
Right? But the reason was what they found out was when they did the research was that because so many people had seen the event, they thought somebody else had already called the cops. And when they thought that, right, everyone else had thought the same thing. So it's like a similar situation.
Yes.
It's like, I don't need to call the cops because someone else will call the cops.
Yes. I was on the ski slopes a couple of weeks ago, and somebody I was with fell down and broke her arm.
Yeah.
And a lot of people around, everyone was like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
I assume it's somebody's job to call help.
Who's
who do we call? Who's going to call? I didn't know who to call.
Yeah.
I had to run and get our instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
it's tough.
What do you do? Sometimes you just don't know what to do.
Whenever I'm in a situation where it's like, oh, someone else might call it, I always remind myself of that story. And I'm just like, well, actually, no, not if I'm thinking this, then everyone else is probably thinking this, so I should just do it anyway. It doesn't hurt to not do it.
There was also that time when we were at McDonald's and somebody that we were with got into a fight. There were these people chasing him. And it was, what do we do? Whose job is it to call the police? I assume the McDonald's staff are doing it.
Yeah.
Do I do it? If I call, will I get in trouble for clawing up the lights? Is it my responsibility? Am I supposed to step in and physically stop this fight? What is my job here?
I don't even know.
What are the rules?
What are the rules? I don't understand. Just let me eat my Happy Meal.
Age of 22 and you're still eating Happy Meals. I believe you were eating a double quarter pounder.
I was, and I had a laptop with me, so I was very protective of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. You just didn't want to you just closed your laptop, put it on the side.
I did, because there was a fight going to break out, and I didn't even know this kid, right?
We didn't know him.
I don't know who this guy is, but apparently he was one of our friends. And I was like, okay.
He was an associate of one of our friends.
And I was just like, who's this guy? Who is he? Why am I now a part? And then remember what the guy said?
What?
We're just friends with this guy. We're friends by association. And the guy's like, you and your boys, eh? Out there in the parking lot. You and your boys. I'm like, me and you were just like, we're not his boys.
we don't know this guy.
We're like, we don't even know who this guy is. I don't even know his name.
Yeah, he's like, the guy comes in to the restaurant. We're sitting down late at night, just, chilling out. And this guy happened to be there, friend of our friend.
Yeah.
And there was a few other people around and we were just sitting there and we were talking to our friend. And then this guy came in and started picking a fight with this guy and goes, you bring your boys outside and I'm going to fight all of you in the parking lot. And as Anthony said, we were not interested in being this person's boys.
Because I'm like, I'm not against the idea, but it's like, I don't even know this guy. I don't know him. Why do I have to be his boy? All of a sudden, I'm just...
What is this boy business?
association.
Can't I be a man?
Can't I just be like by myself, just eating my food?
Yeah.
I came here
bystander.
with two of my friends. I don't know this fucking guy though.
You came here to eat double quarter pounder and use the McDonald's free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly.
Bronson decides to save Pete, so he jumps into the water, dives down, saves him, and then busts out of the water up into the air because now he can fly with his propeller penis.
Yeah, like a tomahawk missile.
Yes, and he flies, and he puts Pete on the beach, and then he dives, and then he flies back to the starting line, jumps on the starting block, and then jumps in the water. Luckily, he doesn't stand on the starting block that was super glued.
Yeah, did you rewatch that to make sure?
Yeah, it was a different number.
Yeah, I was
His number was like 13,
yeah,
and it was 6 or something.
Glue position was 13. 10 was the dive, where he dived from.
Okay.
So
Bronson easily catches up to the others, even though he's going as a lot slower than we've seen him swim previously, because they actually have to have him physically swim when he's next to the other contestants.
What if it was like, the fish was dying, right? The other fish was dying, so maybe it was like that whole helicopter thing he just did.
Yes.
Well, no, the helicopter thing just did.
He's tired.
He started getting really tired and started dying. That's why he started slowing down. It would have been a lot cooler if that were the case, that they'd shown that a little bit more. Oh, I'm slowing down.
Shown us the fish inside of his
stomach.
And
like you could feel like the fish, or like hear the fish. Now the fish was making that whirly noise. You slow down the whirly sound, so it's like. And then Linda could say, Bronson's slowing down. Oh no, the fish is dying.
Yes, because Linda's standing on the shore with the other fish, and the other fish is dying from depression. And so she quickly throws the fish and the jar into the ocean. Now, if we could go back to our friend Pontillo.
Yes.
He brings up a very valid point here. Pontillo says, you could discuss the topic of the whirling derfish breeding in captivity versus the ocean. Did Linda contradict her own beliefs by releasing the derfish into the ocean and further compromising their existence? So what we're talking about here is it better that the fish have a chance at breeding in captivity to bring their numbers back up? Or is it more urgent that she throw the fish into the water to try and get the other fish out of Bronson so that the fish can survive in some capacity at all?
Do we know that it's a saltwater fish?
No.
And that's another thing I want to know. Like, it was never made clear for starters that it was a saltwater fish.
No, that's true.
So, but I guess it did say that the seas were full of them, so I guess it has to be. But I would think that, I didn't like what Linda did here. She was like, oh no, the fish is dying.
Just let him finish the race.
Just let him finish the race. He is literally a minute away. And then when he doesn't give up the fish, you use your judo moves and you beat it out of him. Yes. Right? Because, he agreed to give you the fish after he's won the race. He probably won't do that because he's selfish. But, an agreement's an agreement. Go in, take the fish, put it in captivity.
So Gyro coaxes Spyro out of Bronson's belly, and he starts going really slow. But he's quite a bit ahead, and he kind of is tying with Grip. And they're getting close to the shore, and Gribble overtakes him.
Yes.
And they get to the running part, but Bronson is quite quick at running, and is catching up to Gribble, and it's really close, and it's right at the end of the race. And then they both hit the finish line, but Gribble just wins.
Yeah.
By half a meter or something. It's really close. So Gribble's won again. But everyone celebrates Bronson because Bronson's a hero and he saved Pete and he won the race. And the Gribble parents are very disappointed in Gribble because he only just won. Again.
Yeah.
They've brought shame to his family. And he's lost time off his PB as well.
Yes.
Rabbit and Tiger are still stuck out on the pier because they've high-fived themselves locked into the dock. And they say to each other, oh, when's high tide coming? I guess we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And the whirling derfish swim out into the ocean.
Yeah.
And I guess you said will get eaten by a shark.
Well, I reckon they will get eaten by a shark. Like, they swim out into the ocean together and a shark's going to come along and try to eat them. Do they even know how to, get food? I would imagine not. I imagine that the fish keeper, gives them food. So, they're not going to know how to eat food. They're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, was a nice intent, Linda, but I feel like you killed the animals, maybe?
Yes.
That makes sense. I'm not a fisherman or a fish release man, whatever.
Fishmonger?
No, a person who...
Wildlife activist?
Wildlife activist is what I'm going for. But more like a fish wildlife activist.
A fish activist.
A fish activist. They could probably tell me better, how you'd go from a farmed fish to a real life fish. Do you need to get them when they're really young, or what? Do you need to do some sort of rehabilitation process? I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you release some of those dolphins that are in captivity, they'll just die. But if it's just a normal fish, I'm assuming it will be alright.
I thought a dolphin was smarter, though.
Yeah, but they're not used to hunting, and they're easy to track down. The ones that were raised, I think.
Maybe.
I think I don't know. I have no idea. I'm making things up. I saw blackfish, that makes me an expert.
Yeah, you saw blackfish and you saw dorsal fin collapse, and you're like, I know all about those killer whales now.
I know all about depression in killer whales.
That was a good documentary.
Yeah,
I thought
heavily biased.
I thought it was going to be like a really bad doco, and I was like, no, this was pretty good.
It was very interesting, yes.
Yeah, it was a very interesting doco.
That's the end of the episode.
Yep.
Anything you wanted to talk about from the episode itself before we move on to ratings and listener feedback?
I think I covered puberty enough in this episode. So, other than that, really.
It's about puberty. What
about
more
puberty.
could you say?
I mean, at the end, actually, it finishes with a man and a woman, I guess, together. So maybe that's the end of puberty.
Huh?
Like, it ends sort of in that marriage sort of union together. So maybe there's some takeaway there.
The life cycle of the human being.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, life cycle of human beings. We need our significant others, and that's why we have these feelings. I don't know. I didn't have time to really think of the real...
You need Viking love poems. That's what you need.
Yeah, of course, a Viking love poem, which, as we know, is a marriage vow.
Now, how would you rate this episode?
Well, I want to hear what you have to say. As I said before, this was my favourite one. Let's
go to Pontillo first. And he says, I can't help feel that this episode lacked storyline, but it made up for it a little with the Willy pun/references. He's rating it 5 out of 10 spaghetti bowls served with some caviar on the table. Well done, Pontillo. I thought it was okay. Yeah. It was better than my memory remembered it, but I still think it's heavily overrated. It's definitely not the best by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Its gimmick is the whirling penis, and that's it. That's all it's really got going for it. But I thought it was about 6.5 bowls of spaghetti marinara, which is
fish,
seafood and stuff, I guess.
So, yeah.
Put some prawns in there, make it seafood. Themed it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I'd rate it. How many bowls of spaghetti would you rate this episode?
Look, it's not as I remember, but as far as I'm concerned, Bronson went full Dongcopter pirate in this, in this episode. So, for that reason, and it's going to annoy some people, I give it 8 out of 10 bowls of spaghetti. Overcooked, with a side order of garlic pizza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
When you mentioned Dongcopter Pirate to me before, I thought that this was a game that you played when you were young. I thought you were in the bath or something.
And I played Dongcopter Pirate.
You whirling around your penis, saying, Dongcopter Pirate. It turns out it's some sort of internet video.
It's an internet video of a Russian guy dancing to the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song.
Okay.
And it's really weird, and it makes no sense.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's out there.
That is out there. If you would like to contact us.
Yes.
About the podcast or the television show and get your feedback read out on the show, there are a myriad of different social medias that you can contact us on.
Yes, you can
including
find us on Facebook and YouTube at Tales from the Twists. You can subscribe to us on iTunes so you can get it straight away. You can find us on Twitter at TFT Twists. And you can find us on our WordPress website at talesfromthetwist.wordpress.com. But also, and if you really like the show, you should join our Facebook group called Chicken Twisties. All the cool people are there. That's where all the cool, sexy people are who love the show and love Round the Twist and also Captain Planet. So, just type in Chicken Twisties into Facebook or find it on our Facebook page.
Yep,
and,
you can message our Facebook page and we'll add you
or
to the group.
message us directly, yeah.
The thing about Chicken Twisties is that's where a lot of people contribute their stuff to be read out on the show.
That's where a lot of the Pontillos, we put out our calls for Pontillos pontifications, which is open to everybody, of course.
Yes.
So, you join that if you're interested.
One piece of feedback that I did find interesting was on our Facebook. Someone named Scotty McDonald posted, and he said he tagged a bunch of his friends or family or associates or colleagues and said, "What a podcast. What a podcast indeed."
Yeah, thank you. Or is that like saying, "What? A podcast?" ?
Well, he didn't use punctuation, so assuming
it's unclear
that he's being nice about us.
I hope so.
But, he could just be saying, a podcast?
A podcast?
What's that?
About Round the Twist? What?
I am
confused.
My girlfriend's mum, the other day...
you have a girlfriend?
Yeah, I've had a girlfriend for a while. I haven't said that on the show.
No.
Well, for a little while, yes.
Yes.
And her mum was saying to me, what is this podcast business?
Yeah.
What is this podcast business? I've heard people talk about it. And she was telling me that apparently somebody that she knows made a lot of money selling dream boards on the internet. And I was like, that's podcasting, isn't it? And I was like,
sure.
I don't know.
What's a
Not
dream
really.
board? What's a dream board?
You put your hopes and dreams on a board. I don't know. I know about as much about dream boards as she does about podcasting. So
Pinterest or something, right?
Oh, who knows? It could be anything, Anthony.
What?
Special dream crystals or something. Who knows?
Weird.
Anyway, that's all the time we have time for today. My name is Joseph Lewis.
And I'm Anthony Bull.
Thank you very much for listening to Tales from the Twists. We do podcasts on Captain Planet as well, if you'd like to hear about that. I do it on alternate weeks at the moment. Thank you very much for listening, and stay twisty.
Yeah. See you guys. And girls.